Hi again, everybody. This is the Big Idea, Big Moves podcast. This is the destination podcast for high performers. We bring people from different niches, different areas, different experiences, find out about what they've done to be successful, and also just look at the different strategies that you can use to put into your business, put into your personal lives, or oftentimes into kind of health and wellness and things like that as well. Today's guest is going to be right along those lines. We're going to be talking about a lot about an entrepreneurial journey. We're going to be talking a little bit about health and wellness, because that's kind of the niche that we're looking at today. And really, these are the things that we've done for a while. So if you haven't had the opportunity, go on, take a look, subscribe to this podcast, take a look after today as well, and look at some of our back podcasts. We've talked to Olympians lately. We've talked to people that are confidence experts. We've talked to people that, ex-NHL players that have transitioned recently. And when we're talking about career transitions, that's one thing a lot of people are looking at right now. So one thing that we have done is we have on the website is www.bigideabigmoves.com. And we have a kind of a planning template for people that are looking at what they want to do in their life and maybe reevaluating that. So take a look and listen to some of the podcasts, what some of the guests have said. Use that tool. It's a free tool. Just go on there, download it, and use it when you have some time. And it might just help focus so that when we come out of this, you come out strong. The other part is that one of our supporters, Epitome HR, is helping kind of gather data and gather information for people. So they will have, there's a link on our podcast website that you can go in there if you are looking for a job or will be looking for a job for the next little while. You can input your information, and as things start to come open again, they will be able to help get your information in front of hiring managers, give you some information on jobs that might be opening, that kind of thing as well. So make sure that you do that. The other thing we haven't done in a couple of episodes that we're going to do today is that we've had some really great feedback, and want to appreciate the listeners and viewers of the podcast as well, who give the feedback. So one of the people sent something recently, and this was put onto one of our platforms from Ken. And just wanted to thank him. He said, and I'm just going to read it so that you can actually hear what's on there. Is recently I had the opportunity to listen to some of the Big Idea, Big Moves podcasts. I have to say one word came to mind for me, and that was inspirational. Really triggered a lot of self-reflection on all things. I can definitely say that I'll be a regular listener and will await each and every episode to come out, as they have really put something very valuable together here. So Ken, again, thanks for the feedback. And it's nice to see that the guests that we've brought on, the topics that we're bringing on, are really resonating for people. So today's guest is right in line with that. I think we're going to be able to get some good information and some good ideas, and really hear a good inspirational story about creating a business. So we have Christopher Hummel with us today. He's the founder and CEO of Fit Team Global. It's an all-natural beverage and healthy lifestyle company, and we're going to hear a little bit about that. One big important thing is that company hit almost $10 million in sales in its first launch year. So we're going to hear some really cool stuff about entrepreneurship and maybe how to launch an organization. Chris started his career with the United States Air Force and tracked through real estate as well, and really did a lot to kind of build up and get ready for the launch of Fit Team. So we're going to track through his journey a little bit. So Chris, thanks for joining us today. And how's it been kind of keeping a healthy lifestyle yourself? Now we're going through this kind of weird time right now.
Well, it's definitely a weird time. I want to thank you for having me on. Big Idea, Big Moves is a podcast I've paid attention to, and I really enjoy it. So I want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
Congratulations on the success of it.
Yeah, thanks so much. Thanks so much. Well, I mean, from a success standpoint yourself, I mean, I think the thing that really has shown is that you're a great networker. But the other thing is that with Fit Team in particular, you had a huge, massive launch. And I just think it'd be interesting for people to know, what you do that separated yourself and you were able to make such a big impact early on with your company.
Right. I think most entrepreneurs will probably say it's never as easy as it looks, so to speak. we saw the launch with 15, but that was literally years and years of hard work that built um, up to that point.
Yeah, yeah. So when you did that, why don't you walk us through your journey a little bit? Because you've come from a very kind of different background too. I mean, you know, starting out in the Air Force and kind of mapping through. How did you get to where you are now?
Sure. Well, I started, I always like to tell people I'm from a small town in Upper Peninsula, Michigan, 850, 950. So a real small town, age of around 11, 12, moved to the Detroit suburbs. And at 17, I was in the Air Force. I was security forces with the Air Force. So I
Yeah.
had my 18th birthday in boot camp. So if you can imagine that, interesting place to have your 18th birthday.
Wow.
But what I learned there is I learned discipline, I learned focus, leadership, just a lot of things that I think make somebody a great entrepreneur. And all the things I learned, the discipline and all these different things, aspects have helped shape who I am, and started at a young age. I noticed, just being more confident and things like that. After through the and after that part of my journey at 21. So I did about 5 years, and at 21, I decided I would go and give the real world a try. I
Yeah.
just didn't know what I was going to do, so I gave the military a whirl, and they give you money for education, stuff like that. So, okay, maybe this makes sense. Came from a lower middle class family. Didn't really want to pay to go to school. Didn't really even want to look in to see what the options were to get school paid for. I never liked school, so I didn't really imagine myself going any longer, so to speak. But got my first job, and this is kind of where the build up to 15 is. My first job, I was an employee, and about a month from my daughter being born, just bought a house 6 months earlier. I remember almost like it was yesterday. I got laid off, and it's almost like I just never expected it. Didn't know it was even possible. Didn't see it coming. I was an employee getting a paycheck, and it absolutely crushed me and devastated me and my family at the time. And almost instantly, I decided I'd never work for anybody again. I
Yeah.
just never want to put myself in that situation. So what was I going to do? I decided to jump into real estate because, like I said, I bought a house 6 months earlier. I remember a realtor, nice car, nice place he lived in. And I was okay, this is something I can do. I can work when I want, work as hard as I want, and get paid for my efforts. And real estate's not easy, but did very well. Became one of the youngest real estate brokers in Michigan. Had 42 agents that are in our office at one point, and went from being, having that security of a job to now everything's dependent on myself.
Yeah.
And then eventually, you get some other agents that help, but it's like, there's great months, there's bad months, feast or famine. So good and great. And then really bad. The market changed in 2008.
Hmm.
I went from doing a lot of new construction, a lot of new developments. New construction was great because people pick out their cabinets, pick out their countertops, their flooring. They loved it. It was their dream house.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved that. From going to the market change and for foreclosure and short sales, it just lost any passion I had for real estate at that. Going to help people their dream to now what they were dealing with. And I just didn't know what to do then. I froze. I was once again just like, oh, I just had this weird feeling like I was in the wrong place, and just didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Couldn't really make stuff happen. People call, and I was like, oh, do I really want to deal with this? And so got absolutely crushed again. But the difference is I went from being an employee to having that security, to being a small business, to having the independence that I wanted. But I didn't have the freedom. And that's when I decided I needed to build a big business, because only a big business is going to give you the freedom you really want, unless you always want, 100% of your efforts.
Yeah.
But I've always heard the quote, you'd rather have 1% of 100 people's efforts than 100% of your own. If you really want freedom, build a big business and all those things. So,
Yeah.
okay, what am I going to get involved in next? And everything I was researching at the time, and people that I was listening to at the time, said health and wellness, fitness was going to be the trend. That's, the trend is your friend. That's like going to be the future. And I thought health made perfect sense, because if you don't have your health, you have nothing, and people always take it for granted until they don't have it. And at
Absolutely.
that time, my health was at its worst. I was stressed out. My friend across the street had a cafe. I would go over there and drink these mocha choco lattes. Inflammation running through my body. My knees 3 times the size. My foot, is just throbbing in pain from just eating wrong, bad diet, and drinking these sugary drinks and all this stuff. So health just is like something I said, okay, this is something I get behind. Another one of my friends got into home health care. He was like, wanted me to get involved in that. And I was like, I think maybe I'll go more of the nutrition and fitness route, just kind of more my speed. So then that's kind of how I've got into the industry of nutrition.
And you mentioned there a couple of times. I mean, there's other people you've kind of either modeled on or talked through kind of your thought process here. How important was it for you, and is it for you to have people to kind of look to kind of figure out what's successful and what isn't?
Right. And it's very important to listen to people that have been successful.
Yeah.
I didn't really have mentors that were coaching me on do this, do that, but I was listening to people that were very successful. And I did have some people that were successful that give me tips here and there, but not that I was working with regularly.
Yeah.
But it's very important to listen to people that have what you want and are doing what you want to do, instead of taking advice. And I say this all the time from friends and family. They love you, they care about you, but they probably don't have the same dreams and goals that you do. So it's extremely important to find people that have what you want, listen to them, or do what they're doing, modeling some of their behaviors, some of the things they're doing, some of the people they're studying, the books they're reading, and that type of thing. It's extremely important.
Yeah, it's that whole idea of people who know what good looks like. It kind of helps you to be able to at least model off of whatever process they've used to get there.
Right. Absolutely.
Now, your organization, people may not know kind of all of what it's about. So why don't you just tell us about, it's been really successful in a pretty short period of time. I mean, the other thing that I noticed is that you've got a stadium with the name on it now. There's lots of kind of cool things happening from your perspective. Why don't you tell us a bit about that and how that success is tracked for you?
Thank you. So it's, it starts with just a few people. Anytime you have an idea or a big idea, it starts with you and a few people. You got to get some of the right people around you. That's what I did. Got some few handful of people that I respected, trusted, and want to be a part of this with me. So it's never yourself, but you get a good team around you, and then it'll grow from there. And like I said, for us, even though it's been 5 years now, it's really been probably closer to 12, but it could even be closer to 20 or so if you take back to the things I learned in the military.
Yeah.
And even it could even be before that, things I learned as a kid growing up in sports, the work ethic and stuff like that you learn through sports. So it's a journey. It's not like this one thing happened and here you go. But we did have a lot of success early on. The reason being is we do have a higher quality product than most. And
Yep.
people now are educating themselves more. They want better quality. So our products are USD organic, non-GMO, vegan, gluten-free, kosher. So we eliminated the artificial sweeteners. So some of the things people are looking for. So that was a big part of it. And also we did have some partnerships with the PGA players and Major League Baseball to give more credibility to the brand. We actually had athletes that we had no connection with whatsoever reaching out to us that loved our products and were asking how they can get them, how they can use them, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it was that's a good feeling. It's a good feeling.
Yeah.
That obviously helps build the brand.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, you kind of mentioned a couple of things that helped build it. For you in particular, what do you think characteristics about you contribute most to your success? What do you think those would be?
Things, and this is how I was going to end. Is usually I like to end with this, but dreaming big. I'm a dreamer. I'm
Yeah.
always wanted more since probably it was 4 or 5 years old. I tell a story. I remember leaving Ben Franklin with my grandma. That was she's digging in her big purse to pull out like $1,
Yeah.
just get a candy, And I remember leaving there with her one day, walking across the train tracks, and she said, it'd be really nice if you had money one day. It just sucks not to ever have any money. So that's
Yeah.
always stuck with me. So I've always been a dream big, always dream big. So, but
Yeah.
what I was going to end with is dream big, take massive, consistent action,
Yeah.
and never give up. There's people that dream big, but they just don't put that consistency in. It's literally day in and day out. Those little things, when you do them every single day, it takes a long time to compound, but eventually it will if you stick to it. And for whatever reason, some people hit that first wall or they have that first setback and they just give up. And that first setback's there to test you to see how bad you really want it. And you have to push through that. And the more obstacles and setbacks and objections and struggles you overcome, the bigger your business is going to grow. So that's a good thing when you have that. And then, never giving up, obviously. I'm still going through the journey of different struggles, and
Sure.
this and that, and you just keep going. Just never
Well,
do.
and it's interesting you say that. I think every successful high performer, whether it's in business or whether it's in athletics or any of those different things, the one that seems to really come through almost every time is this is resiliency, the
Mhm.
ability to kind of look at tough times or look at times where you're a little more challenged and push through them. Those are the ones that seem to almost every time, whether you that clicks through or not. But I think of kind of your story talking about what happened when you decided to go into kind of real estate, and then when you decided to make the change out of real estate, some of those things, and probably struggles you have everything even right now with some of that kind of stuff that's happening in the business environment now. I mean, that's what kind of real success ends up being for people. And does that resonate at all? That kind of resiliency is a big one.
Absolutely, and it's the more that you're able to overcome, the more success you'll have. And people want to be comfortable, and
Yeah.
say all the time, you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. The more uncomfortable you are, that's good. The more that you're stretching yourself and getting uncomfortable and putting yourself in positions that you normally wouldn't, that's good, because that means you're growing. When you're comfortable and you don't have that uncomfortable feeling, or you're in the space where everything's going smoothly,
Yeah.
you don't really learn or grow there.
Yeah, yeah. This is the time when you can boost that up. Now, the other thing is, Chris, that you have a lot of organizations are being a little bit challenged right now if they haven't been kind of distributed with their employees to start with, that they were all in one building and now suddenly they're all over the place and they're really struggling with how do you keep people engaged. And actually, your business model is more of a distributed model. So how what are some of the things, especially right now when there's a lot more kind of anxiety for people in their homes and things like that? Do you have any thoughts, or what is it that's working for you to kind of keep people engaged during this time when it's different? It's more crisis management mixed with kind of just keeping people engaged in their roles.
It's definitely different. I know a lot of people are struggling with it. The advice I've been giving is do the best you can always, but do the best you can as if you were showing up at the office. So if you're showing up at the office at 9 o'clock, get up, do whatever you were doing before, and stick to that routine. I'm still in the same routine that I was in before all this, so that's what's helped me push through. I know a lot of people struggle with it, but I feel it's because they wake up, they're staying in their same pajamas all day, and
Yeah.
they're not getting in the routine they normally would to get themselves moving in that right direction. So whatever routine you had before, I recommend doing the best you can. And it's obviously not going to be easy for a lot of people. Kids running around at home, different things happening. So that's
Yeah.
understandable, but just do the best you can. And if you had a routine, do whatever you can to kind of get back to it, and as much as possible.
No, I read something I think about you before where there was you were a fan of kind of keeping things simple or simplicity, and that's something when I go into places, it's so many organizations blow things up so much that the ability to execute gets hurt. And I'm wondering what your thoughts are on that, because I think that simplicity is a big kind of reason that places are successful and can grow relatively quickly because of simplicity. But your thoughts on that?
No, simplicity is no, you're spot on with everything you just said. I mean, I think I've been just blessed, like I said, growing up in Upper Peninsula, Michigan, when you got 850 people in town. I'm a simple person, so it comes easy for me. I think I watch people overcomplicate things all the time and add extra steps and do all these other things. It's like, just let's slow down, let's just do it and move forward. There's always these things. You can always make everything better if you want to think about it or plan.
Yeah.
I think the person that's the most prepared is going to do the best, but I see so much over planning, over analyzing, overthinking every single day. And it's just, for me, it's like, it's hard, because I'm just like, it's not that important to spend, for example, 3 months on a 30-second video when someone's going to watch it one time. And
Yeah.
then you can do how many videos in that time? It's just an example. So I
Yeah.
see that every single day. Obviously it's important to plan. That's actually one of the first things in my 7 steps that I said it was to, preparation. But, simplicity is, I cannot speak on the importance of keeping things simple,
Yeah.
because it starts with that. It really does, just simplicity.
Well, it's the execution gap you're talking about that oftentimes it's if things fall down, it's usually in the execution. And
Absolutely.
people can have these great plans, but unless you make a simple way of being able to execute it, just doesn't seem to happen. So
And I love that the big moves part after the big ideas, because there's a lot of great ideas.
yeah,
And it's just taking that action. If you could
yeah,
just get more people to take action, there'd be more great companies, more great products and services out there. There's a lot of great ideas. It's just people are, for whatever reason, just they're just take that simple start, or the simple
that's it.
start.
It's the next steps afterwards that make the difference of whether it moves ahead or not, and or that somebody else takes your idea and makes it happen. Like that's often what. How many times do you see that somebody who has this fantastic idea and someone else just does it because they start to move the ball forward, and that's all it is sometimes.
Right. Absolutely.
Um, what out of all of the different advice that you've been given over your career, what do you think is one that resonates most as the most impactful advice you've had from somebody?
It's a guy I didn't know very well, but I sat with him. He was successful, had multiple businesses and different franchises, and didn't know him well, but I sat in his office a couple times. And one time I asked him, because I was like, you have all this, what is it? And he sat there and he paused. He's like, no one's ever asked me this, which I thought was interesting, because he's obviously a successful person. And he sat there and it probably took him about maybe a minute. It seemed like it was longer than that, but he said perseverance. He said just one word, and I've never forgotten that since that day, and that was probably 20 years ago. He said perseverance, and he said just continuing to move forward. He said I've had so many setbacks, so many like problems, and perseverance. So that's what he said. That was the one word that I haven't forgotten.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and it's that resiliency, perseverance thing, right? So, Um, and I know we mentioned it really quickly before, but maybe if we could touch on it for a second, is that it was relatively recent that that your organization has its name on a stadium, and really nice kind of brand links that way as well. Um, how did that come about for you? Because that's a big leap. I mean, really, your organization has been out there for, let's say, 5 years, even though I know there's lots of work that gets to that 5 years. But how do you make that big a leap, and what's that done for you, having that nice kind of brand connection as well?
Well, it's something that was available in the community, and we were looking to. You always have to start at home, I feel like, and make an impact, and then you can go elsewhere. So we're looking to make a positive impact in our local community, and we've done other areas as well. But it's important to start where you're at and do what you can
Yeah,
locally, and then you can move, to other areas. So we did that, and it's obviously it's been big for us. We really appreciate the partnership there. It's well, both teams were just in the World Series, so
yeah,
that's a good
yeah,
thing. A little bit crazy ending of the season and start of the season with everything going on, but and then now obviously with everything going on. So, but the partnership's been great. We really like the people that we work with there. The
yeah.
teams are two great teams, and the last 3 years they've been the championship, twice. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So no matter what, aligning yourself that way
right,
it's going to be nice. I mean, yeah, it is a difficult time right now for everybody who's connected with that, just because
yeah.
of what's happened. But hopefully we'll see some change there soon. So the way we always kind of wrap some of these things up, Chris, is that we ask, if you were to say two or three things that just the person at home right now, and maybe right now is figuring out, I've got some time, I'm going to figure out what my next big move is. What would be two or three things that you think would be really important for that person to do today, just to kind of move things forward for themselves?
I'd say decide exactly what it is you want your life to look like, and then figure out what you can do to get you there. Something that obviously you'll enjoy, something that you'll love, something that'll get you up early, maybe beat the sun up, maybe work late nights. What is something that would do that for you? So dream big, and then put a plan in place.
All right. And then moving forward, we'll execute. That's how we can
Right,
make the difference,
absolutely.
right? All
Massive
right.
consistent action, never give up, and keep moving forward.
Just keep moving forward. All right. Well, thanks very much, Chris. Again, if people want to kind of look into your organization or anything, how best do they do that?
They can find Fit Team basically at all social media. Fit Team Global at all social media channels. FitTeam.com is our website. I'm on Christopher Hummel at all social media channels, and look forward to connecting with anybody that's out there. And once again, and really enjoyed being on here today, and also everything that you've been doing with your show.
Thanks very much, Chris. I really appreciate it. So again, Christopher Hummel, take a look at him everywhere out there right now. If you haven't had the opportunity yet, go up and subscribe, hit the subscribe button on the podcast. And also if you're on, so we're on all platforms as well. So you might be listening on Apple or Spotify or Podchaser or Google or on YouTube as well now. So just make sure that you hit subscribe, because we have great guests like this all the time. We really try to make sure we have high profile, very successful guests who can really lend some good expertise to everybody listening. So thanks very much, and we'll talk to people again on Big Idea, Big Moves.